Santa has arrived early this year. You can now buy the beautiful AfriCell Dual SIM 3G smartphone for $1,500 only and receive 15 GB of internet data for free, valid for 1 month. And that's not all. You can also buy AfriCell's durable Dual SIM 4G smartphone for $2,000 only and receive 25 GB of data for free, valid for 1 month. Walk into any AfriCell outlet today to buy your very own smartphone and receive data for free. Massive AfriPhone discount this Christmas from AfriCell just for you. It's no more $550, but $400 only. And on top of that, receive 200 minutes of AfriCell to AfriCell talk time spread over 2 months for free. Merry Christmas.
Hello and welcome to Star TV Newsroom, broadcasting from our studios in Kanifing along the Battle-Hardened Highway. I am Maimuna Fadera and many thanks indeed for joining us. First, the headlines tonight. President Barrow receives credential letters from 4 diplomats threatening bilateral ties. GAF's Chief of Defense Staff embarks on nationwide tour with renewed emphasis on a political stance. Gambia for all political party holds Start Ordinary Congress. Climate activist Usainu Koli advocates for mangrove restoration to protest wetlands and boost local economies. On the international news, Kenyans in St. Jude's City hold secrets of lost civilization and efforts to save it from decay. Trump administration welcomes 59 white South Africans as refugees to the US. UK Labour government toughens immigration plans as far-right gains support. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The Gambia leader, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, earlier today received in letters of credence from 4 ambassadors at the State House in Banjul. The event highlights the Gambia's strong bilateral relations with these countries. Hadijaju has the rest of the details.
The ceremony marked a significant step in the Gambia's diplomatic engagements, with President Barrow extending warm congratulations to the newly appointed envoys while expressing gratitude to their respective leaders for their continued cooperation. First to present her credentials was Cuba's ambassador to the Gambia, Her Excellency Camilina Ramirez Rodriguez. Following a closed-door discussion with President Barrow, she expressed appreciation for her diplomatic mission and highlighted Cuba's interest in strengthening cooperation with the Gambia.
Our interest is to expand this cooperation that we have here for more than 30 years. Particularly, we have the cooperation in health sector. We have more than 100 Cuban doctors in the country, in all the regions. The idea is to continue enhancing this cooperation and even expand to maybe other sectors that we could include in our relationship.
Later, the ambassador of France to the Gambia, Her Excellency Christine Fages, presented her letter of credentials. She emphasized France's long-standing partnership with the Gambia, citing projects such as the establishment of Alliance Franco in 1948 as a key pillar of cultural and educational collaboration.
Gambia and France have a very close relationship. As you know, we are having first a cultural action through Alliance Franco, who's been there since 1948. So it's a very old presence, but we are with the Alliance doing a lot of support to entrepreneurship, innovation, women, and cultural exchanges. We also have a big project with the Gambian government on water, drinking water solution, on the WASIB project that will be inaugurated on the 17th of May with the president of the Gambian. And of course we have the International French School, who is here in Banjul, and which is here in Banjul, and is also a staple for cultural relation between our two countries.
Similarly, Canada's High Commissioner, His Excellency Marcel Leblouy, and Malta's High Commissioner, His Excellency Domenico Gaini, outlined their commitment to deepening bilateral cooperation, with expectations of enhanced trade and diplomatic engagement during their tenure.
Canada and Gambia have had this diplomatic relationship since 1965. Solid, steady, through cooperation, but also through people. And I'm quite delighted to be here today with the Minister also of Public Sector.
Malta is one of the ancient organizations in the world. It's a state without territory, but is very important because is a state that maintains relations with more than 120 countries, with several international organizations, and the rule of the Order of Malta is to be very close, to be present in the situation of the people in need, the person in general.
During the cordial meetings, all parties reiterated their dedication to advancing historic ties based on mutual respect, friendship and cooperation. President Barrow emphasized the importance of collective efforts to promote shared development and prosperity among their nations. As the Gambia continues to strengthen its global partnerships, these diplomatic appointments signal a renewed commitment to fostering meaningful international collaboration for the benefit of all. For Star TV News, I am Hadijajo.
The Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Mahmoud Ocham, has commenced his annual nationwide tour of military installations on Monday, using the opportunity to directly engage with troops across the country. The annual event allows the High Command to connect with personnel under its command and address their concerns. Our Defense and Security Affairs correspondent, Modu Elbaji, is with the CDS delegation, and he filed in this report.
The Chief of Defense Staff and his delegation were warmly received by the community leaders and regional security heads upon their arrival in the North Bank region. General Cham's first stop was the Ghanaian contingent base in Bara village, where he was welcomed by the Ghanaian contingent commander Abrahman Piori Deri, who highlighted the cordial ties that continue to exist with their Gambian counterparts.
So we deem this visit very historic and special. It gives an indication of the Gambian Armed Forces High Command's interest in both our operational and administrative activities, as well as our welfare. Sir, your visit also cements the outstanding relationship between these two countries, Gambia and Ghana. So we feel very much at home, and we are indeed grateful for your support.
The Chief of Defense Staff and his delegation proceeded to Njongon village, where he was greeted by the Delta Company commanding officer, Captain Jenaba Sane. Captain Sane expressed her gratitude for the CDS's visit, highlighting that it will provide personnel with a valuable platform to share their perspectives and seek clarification on important issues from the High Command.
It gives me the greatest pleasure on behalf of my soldiers and indeed on my own behalf to welcome you all to Njongon Military Post. Sir, your visit is a clear indication of your care for the members of the Gambia Armed Forces. Despite your busy schedule, you create time to visit the troops. Once again, you are welcome to Njongon Military Camp.
Brigadier General Seth Njai, the National Army Commander, described the gathering as a significant opportunity for the troops to voice their aspirations directly to the Chief of Defense Staffs. He reiterated the importance of organizing trainings in line with the CDS's directives and stressed the need for soldiers to handle military assets with care, noting existing issues with the Army's vehicle fleet. Furthermore, Brigadier General Seth Njai urged personnel to refrain from using social media to spread unfounded information or interfering in public discourse.
If you follow these kind of discussions I've seen in these social media, and you want to take sides up to the extent of commenting, as a military personnel, when we identify you, you are no longer going to be part of us. Although we don't have a written policy, if there is one, I'm not yet aware, but not all policies are written. And our policy here is that we cannot participate in some of these discussions in the social media. And we cannot be advocates. We cannot do advocacy as far as we are putting on this uniform as soldiers in the social media. So know how you use the social media as a soldier of the Gambian National Army. So that you use it wisely and know your limits when it comes to use of social media. Leave it to our brothers who are in civil order to say whatever they want to say, to make comments, whatever they want to make comments, to say whatever they want to say. We can listen, we can watch, we can see, no problem. But for us, as far as our military life is concerned, you have a restriction.
Addressing his men, Lieutenant General Mamad Ocham emphasized the Gambia Armed Forces' commitment to remaining apolitical, stressing the importance of personnel staying away from political involvement.
Our message is the same. The Gambia Armed Forces is an apolitical armed forces. When you are in the armed forces, you stand for the whole country. We are not into partisan politics. Our party is the Gambia Armed Forces. Our color is the khaki. And I think the message is sinking. Everybody who is a soldier, do not play party politics. Your commander and your mission is very clear. Nobody gives an illegal order here. When you are given an illegal order, disobey it. Our orders come through a chain of command. The armed forces is accountable and subordinate to civilian democratic control. It means that whenever there is an election and the Gambian people elects a government, the armed forces upholds the verdict of the Gambian people and makes sure that the government is given the protection and security to execute its mandate. And that is our mission.
The meeting with the Njongon troops concluded with an engaging question and answer session, fostering open communication between the leadership and the rank and file. Continuing his tour, the Chief of Defense Staff's delegation made a stop at Kirpate village, where they held another meeting with community leaders and personnel stations at the Fox Hunt military base. The day culminated with a grand welcoming in Farafenye, where soldiers and Ratins of the 2nd Infantry Battalion enthusiastically greeted the CDS. The Chief of Defense Staff's annual nationwide tour underscores the High Command's commitment to engaging with its troops, addressing their concerns, and reinforcing key principles for the Gambia Armed Forces. The emphasis on remaining apolitical and the call for responsible use of military assets and social media highlights the leadership's focus on maintaining professionalism and operational effectiveness with the armed forces. The tour is expected to continue to other military installations across the country. Reporting from Farafenye, I am Mudu El Baji.
The Gambia for All on Saturday held its 2025 Third Ordinary Congress, which highlights the party's mass mobilization challenges, techniques, and methods to ensure that the party achieve its objective. More in this report by Hadijaju.
Held at the Friendship Hotel in Bakau, the Congress gathered party leaders, supporters, and sympathizers to reflect on past achievements, address challenges in accordance with the legal framework governing political parties in the Gambia. Gambia for All Chairman Alaji Salou Tal reiterated the party's dedication to upholding the rule of law, emphasizing its vision to fostering a prosperous and secured nation where citizens can thrive. He acknowledged existing challenges but urged party militants to remain steadfast, engage actively with committees, and uphold integrity as their voices matters in shaping the party's future.
Committed to strengthening democracy, ensuring transparency governance, upholding rule of law, fostering economic growth, creating jobs, supporting small business, investing in infrastructures, promoting social justice, combating discrimination, and securing equal rights for all.
Tal's address underscored the critical need for cohesion, calling for unity among party members to reinforce Gambia for All's political influence and effectiveness.
Your voice matters. Hold us accountable, participate actively, and be part of shaping our nation's future. Together we can build a Gambia that is prosperous, just, and vibrant for all.
Secretary General Bakari Bidabo, expressing gratitude for the trust placed in him, commended party militants for their unwavering support. He highlighted Gambia for All's progress in expanding its political footprint, while acknowledging the inevitable growing pains that accompany such advancement. Dabo reflected on the party's journey for its early days as the forefront movement of like-minded individuals, of its emergence as a significant actor in the Gambia's political landscape. He noted that the party's continued evolution requires resilience and adaptive strategies.
Context within which we operate, a context which sometimes I hear derided as tropical democracy, notorious for the characteristic absence of level playing field essential for democratic competition, with inbuilt obstacles and disadvantages typically stacked on the path of opposition parties. But even in the first phase of these daunting challenges, Gambia for All continued to stand and to grow in strength, armed with the faith and commitment demonstrated by the party leadership, but especially fortified by the dogged militant spirit.
The Congress also emphasized the role of youths and grassroots participation in strengthening Gambia for All's presence. Through various engagements, members discussed ways to enhance collaborative action, reinforcing the party's commitment to inclusivity and dynamic political discourse. As Gambia for All charts its path forward, its leadership remains focused on fostering accountability, transparency, and sustainable growth within the national political framework. For Star TV News, this is Hadijaju.
Usainu Koli, widely known as Usainu Gambia, is calling for increased awareness and action regarding the preservation of wetlands in the Gambia, emphasizing the importance of massive mangrove installations to safeguard this vital ecosystem. Awasane tells us more.
In an interview with Star TV, climate activist Usainu Koli has urged communities across the country to engage in extensive mangrove restoration efforts. Koli believes that these initiatives will not only enhance environmental protection, but also serve as a catalyst for economic growth, particularly through tourism. He highlighted the crucial role of wetlands as habitats for marine resources, which can attract tourists and bolster the local economy and serve as a vital ecosystem that support biodiversity and provide livelihoods for many.
And the organization in the Gambia here, we have been trying and striving to make sure that we create more awareness when it comes to wetland. And creating awareness, what's more important in creating awareness is creating awareness by action. Because if you do actionable things, if you do things on action, it's what you create more awareness and people understand why you are doing actions. And by doing so, we are able to organize and implement massive mangrove restorations across the Gambia. In the Combo here, especially in the Greater Banjul here, if you go to the Tambi wetland. Even last week, I was there for the mangrove restoration with some boys, and you go to this the LRR and you have the Sankandi youths there, doing mangrove restoration. And most of the time, most of the youth-led initiation happening in the Gambia, we make sure mangrove restoration is part of the activities that we do. The last ELCOI that happened, that bring young people together, climate actors, even that one of the activities we try to make sure that there is mangrove activity.
Usainu emphasized the need for community participation in this initiative, targeting groups living in approximately to wetland areas, adding that sensitization efforts will act as a communication tool to convey the importance of wetlands, helping many to understand how they can protect and preserve these environments.
Time ago, what you do is the community participation is very key. Whatever activity you are doing in the community, you make sure that you target the group who are living within that community. Some of these communities have what we call the VDCs, the Village Development Committee. Some of these communities have youth-led organizations that are based in that committee. Some of these communities have a women group that are deciding in that committee. Some of these communities have even women whose life and livelihood are centered on those mangrove, on those wetlands. So if you are doing this activity, you engage them. I remember when we are doing activities in Kamalo, we have to go to the community, talk to people that we are coming to do mangrove restoration here. So they took ownership of this thing, and you tell them the value of those mangrove and how it's attached to their life. So it's inspired them more to come and take part. So
furthermore, he pointed out that protecting wetlands could significantly impact women's livelihoods, as many women rely on these ecosystems for their businesses. Continuing that by safeguarding the wetlands, one can empower women and foster economic opportunities that benefit entire communities.
Wetlands have an habitat for marine resources. You go to the wetland, you see a lot of marine resources, the crab, the fish, the snails, and all those things. So it has to have a home, it has to have a habitat for all these resources, more especially even the birds that are not even within the birds. You can see a lot of birds around the wetland, and that also links to tourism. You can see because we have a lot of birds in the wetland, it becomes an area where tourists use for bird watching and all those things. So another important of the wetland is wetlands serve as a buffer for breeding ground for the fish. Because what happens is these fish from the ocean, they come to the wetland and lay their eggs there, the smaller fish and go back to the wetland. And another thing is wetland prevent erosion. If there's enough wetland around, it prevents erosion.
As Usainu Gambia continues to champion the cause of wetland preservation, he urges all Gambians to recognize the environmental and economic benefits of these ecosystems and to take proactive steps for their protection. Awasane for Star TV News.
Well, we'll now take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more news.
Walk into any Africell outlet and purchase the Africell 5 Mbps mega bundles for $3,300 and receive a CPE router for free.
You open a car, mandem na auto suma boste Africell rek.
Buy the Africell 4 Mbps mega bundle for $2,700 at any Africell outlet and get a MiFi for free. No time for buffering. Speed, Lenoir.
Welcome back after that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News. Well, we now look at the news beyond our borders. The ancient coastal city of Judi, Kenya, a pre-colonial 11th century trading hub built by Persian and later Arab settlers, boasted palaces, mosque, and advanced infrastructure before its mysterious 17th century abandonment. Now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it ruins face threats from climate changes and neglect, mirroring risks to Africa's few protected sites. UNESCO Nairobi conference highlighted armed conflicts, Ukraine, Mali, and disaster, Uganda's fire as escalating dangers. Archaeologist George Abung stressed that heritage preservation must prioritize local values over mere UNESCO listings. Judy's caretakers work to safeguard its mystical beauty. Though much of its history remains lost, the site underscores Africa's unrepresented global heritage amid growing crisis. Al Jazeera's Catherine Soy reports from the Judy Monument in Kenya's Kilifi County.
An ancient coastal city that holds many secrets. Historians say it was built in around the 11th century, long before the transatlantic slave trade, before there was a country called Kenya. It was a thriving trading town, and it's one of 8 World Heritage Sites in the country.
But when it comes...
The director of Gedi Monument, Hussein Aden, traces its history to Persians who came to East Africa to trade.
After some 200, 300 years, it was assumed that the first settlers, the first inhabitants left the town. It was assumed that maybe the local people. The second is being assumed now it is Arabs and Africans.
Researchers say the last of the residents packed up and left at the turn of the 17th century. It's not clear why.
This is the palace. The city itself was extremely wealthy. It had mosques, houses, and well-constructed tombs. Now, historians say that the architecture is a marvel, but not much is known about what happened here.
Such World Heritage Sites inscribed by UNESCO are few in Africa. Some are under threat from, among other things, climate change, neglect, and war.
Cultural heritage is being destroyed by during armed conflict, and we are seeing it. We're seeing it in Ukraine. Now we're seeing it. We've seen it in Syria. We've seen it in Iraq. We've seen it in Mali, in Africa, and I think even in Uganda, where fire has destroyed a World Heritage Site.
UNESCO delegates met in Nairobi to discuss how to protect the important cultural sites and push for more representation in the heritage lists.
It's not just a question of more sites on the list. It is also the question of quality. It is the question of understanding. This conference is not about loading the World Heritage. It's about listening to our own values.
Those who are helping take care of the Gedi Monument say they're doing the best they can to keep this mystical beauty safe. Catherine Soy, Gedi Monument on the Kenyan coast.
Well, the first group of white South Africans has arrived in the U.S. in the controversial resettlement plan. The Trump administration's giving them refugee status while refusing to accept pretty much everyone else. Al Jazeera's Patty Gulhan reports from Dulles International Airport near Washington, D.C.
It's not every day that news cameras are here to watch passengers disembark, but this is an unusual sight in the U.S. People labeled refugees being welcomed in the United States.
Welcome!
Also unusual, deputy secretaries from the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security here to greet them.
My wife came from Iran, same thing, persecution from Christianity, and she's come here.
It's the persecution part that some people are questioning. These are 49 white South Africans, a group that U.S. President Donald Trump has insisted, against all the evidence, is subjected to racial discrimination and even violence, a charge the South African government disputes.
There is no any form of persecution to white South Africans or to African South Africans, and we are glad that a number of organizations, even from Afrikaner structures, have denounced this so-called persecution.
These are people who were not living in refugee camps. They hadn't fled their country. They were the group that was most associated with the oppression of the black majority through the apartheid regime.
Their arrival comes as the Trump administration blocks refugees previously approved to come in. Asked why these South Africans are different, this is the official answer.
Some of the criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country.
A handful of protesters at the airport called out the move as racially motivated.
The Afghans, even Afghans with SIVs, they're not paying for flights for them. They're not paying for resettlement for them. They can, because they have the actual visa in hand, They can get here, but they're not doing anything for them.
The Trump administration has basically frozen all money to help refugees in the United States. That didn't apply in this case. The United States paid for the private plane that brought them here. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Dulles International Airport.
Well, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced new measures aimed at tightening legal migration system. His government's under pressure to counter the popularity of Nigel Farage's right-wing anti-immigration reform UK party. But employees are worried that the plan will make it harder for companies to fill vacancies. Well, Al Jazeera's Charlie Anjali reports from London, UK.
Your cup of tea is ready.
Thank you so much.
Vaibavi is part of a team that cares for Dinesh, who has Parkinson's. She feeds and bathes him. She is his lifeline to the outside world. But new restrictions on visas for workers providing social care will mean providers can't hire workers like Vaibavi from overseas. There are already 130,000 vacancies in social care. Employers say this will only get worse. Then after some time I will help you.
There is a huge demand for care. It is not being met by local staff. Where we can, we absolutely want to recruit local staff. Going to the overseas market is then the next stage.
But you are doing well. You are able to hold it and drink it. The government says it will tackle every area of the immigration system.
Work, family and study will be tightened up so we have more control. Skill requirements raised to degree level. English language requirements across all routes, including for dependents. The time it takes to acquire settled status extended from 5 years to 10.
Ministers hope to deliver some changes quickly, cutting by 50,000 the number of lower skilled and care workers coming to the UK pretty much straight away.
The idea of trying to reduce net migration by attacking particularly students, care workers, business people, where we already know that economists are saying that it's absolutely crucial to have more supply in these sectors, is going to affect us economically, but it's also going to have major social consequences when people don't have carers to look after their elderly relatives.
This about turn on immigration policy is Labour's big hope to curb the rise of reform. The populist right party won big in local elections with its promise of net zero immigration. The government hopes that by the next general election, it will be able to reverse the steady increases seen over the last 2 decades. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera, London.
Well, before we end the news, a quick recap of our headlines. President Barrow receives credential letters from 4 diplomats threatening bilateral ties. GAF's Chief of Defense Staff embarks on nationwide tour with renewed emphasis on a political stance. Gambia for all political party holds Start Ordinary Congress. Climate activist Ousseynou Koli advocates for mangrove restoration to protect wetlands and boost local economies. And international news, Kenyans in St. Jude's City hold secrets of lost civilization and efforts to save it from decay. Trump administration welcomes 59 white South Africans as refugees to the US. UK Labour government toughens immigration plans as far-right gains support. That's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of wonderful programs. Once again, thanks for your very company. Have a wonderful night.